let's see what's going on. I think we got it. I think we got some sound. Yeah. It's a big show today. There's a lot going on. We got the normal mess, but we got some other stuff too. Hold on one second. I'm bringing some stuff up. It's very exciting. It's a House Sparks Megaworldwide special report, and I couldn't be more excited. All right, let's. Whoops. I don't want to give it away right away. I don't want to bury the lead. Here we go. All right, so getting ready. Getting ready. All right, here we are. Okay, welcome to the show. It's Hal Sparks Megaworldwide. Consider this a Hal Sparks Megaworldwide special report, including my accidental use of the morning's title, which I forgot to take down. And I will put up nope, that's the wrong one. I'll put, what do we put with this thing? We'll put this up there. There you go. Infotainmentwars.com. Like, subscribe. Thank you to our patrons at patreon.com/HalSparks for making this special report possible. Largely because it is because of you that I get to bring people on board to help me with this show to whatever limited capacity their life allows. Like our great friend and companion in here, Can't Stop Lying. Now, CSL, for those of you that don't know, and a hello chat room. Let me open that up in a second. Let me open up our chatty chat in a second. Some of you may know, may not know, but I have a heck of a time when I'm prepping for this show to not over prep. And the reason is because I don't want to pre-watch the stuff that we, oh, thanks, Josh. I don't want to pre-wash, listen to me, pre-watch. I can read and talk at the same time. Good Lord. All right. I don't want to pre-watch the clips we do. Now, I'll watch other stuff that's related to it, that's in the same line of it, because I generally know what the topic is, and to keep myself educated on the current GOP talking points, which, by the way, die daily like used single-ply single sheets of toilet paper. And so it's hard sometimes to keep up with it. It's hard to, to chase that down. So anyways, one of the things that CSL helps me do is find clips that I have not watched, and he just throws them my way. He just goes, here's this, what's up. And I oftentimes will see those that they're in my Discord where he puts them, and I will avoid looking at those until showtime. So of the stuff that's up there, I will, that really, that helps, but it also helps me to not over prep or what have you. Now, there is one area where I have a tendency to go, oh, wait a second. It's any new stuff that has to do with supposedly the big Biden boom, the big, the accusations against the Bidens. And so it's very rare that I have not seen already all the stuff. And then sometimes there's a piece of breaking news, and that's what happened today. Now, today, the New York Post put out, and I'll see if I can find this. Let's see. New York Post whistleblower. Let's see. He says, yeah. This is a day ago. Yeah. Okay. So this this is the New York Post article on this. Let me see if I can get it out of here. So this is the New York Post article on here. It says, media silence on key would-be witness Gal Luft's Biden revelation speaks volumes is the thing. And there's a message from this dude, exclusive video from the missing witness of the House Oversight's Biden corruption investigation, fugitive Israeli professor Gal Luft. Okay, we'll get to him in just one second. He's a fugitive from justice. And he's obviously being persecuted because the Biden crime family is coming after him. And he's on the run because he fears for his life as a witness against the Bidens that, we'll get to that in a minute. Brought his evidence forward during the Trump administration, and the Trump administration and the DOJ and Bill Barr and all the Rosenstein and everybody else involved told him to go pound sand, apparently, which just shows how much power Joe Biden has, that he even was president and had control of the Justice Department when Trump was president. It's a miracle. Anyway, so this is this guy. All right. And the reason this came up was because of a lovely clip put up with our old friend Miranda Devine, who they call in all the time on Fox and on all these others. She wrote the book on the fake Hunter Biden laptop. And the title of it made me very curious. This Hunter Biden whistleblower is on the run. Not this. Oh, so I was like, there's They just, and it says the Ingram angle. Get out of here. Panelists Miranda Devine and Mike Davis discuss the latest twist in the Hunter Biden probe. Ooh, it's a very twisty turny thing. Okay, so we have heard a lot of allegations about, whistleblowers that exist and don't exist and stuff. And by the way, spoiler alert, dude's not a whistleblower. This guy, this quote unquote, this Hunter Biden whistleblower is on the run. He's not a whistleblower. He's making criminal allegations against Biden, and he was in 2019, but he's not a whistleblower because he's not inside the organization that he says didn't listen to him. He's just still the same person he was saying, I think they're doing this. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, technically speaking, to be a whistleblower, you have to be kind of in the organization that's allegedly because you can't go through your superiors and go, hey, there's bad things going on in this company / bureau / whatever. You have to, all right, never mind. Anyways, I'm not a whistleblower if I witness a traffic accident and I go tell the cops who was at fault, right? And if a cop doesn't listen to me and I go to his superior, still not a whistleblower. I'm just a witness thinking no one's taking me seriously. You get it? Okay. Yes, he's an innuendo man. And it gets really good. So I went because it was related I saw a similar thing online related to this New York Post thing, which I was like, this has got to be the guy they're talking about. Okay. And I watched his entire video. This should be of surprise to no one. There he is. This is it. He sent in a almost 14-minute video explaining the allegations he made against the Bidens and why he's on the run. Now, spoiler alert, the reason he's on the run is because he was trafficking in arms for the Chinese government, and he was making he was basically helping them get guns into Kenya. But and he was arrested, or they served him with an arrest warrant in Cyprus. I don't know where I guess he got bond or something and then fucked off. I don't know anyways, he was in Cyprus. One of the questions that doesn't come up, that hasn't come up with these assholes, I have to say, is the whole, what the fuck was he doing in Cyprus part? Because Cyprus is like the money laundering capital of the fucking world. One of the telltale signs of people going, aha, there's something criminal going on in Biden world is that Hunter Biden was giving his tax information to some people at Burisma to set up an account, a loan out account on his behalf, and they were setting it up in the Bank of Cyprus, where Wilbur Ross used to work and where, okay, so anyways, it's pretty fucked up. So let's start in the middle of the beginning, shall we? Here she is. This is Miranda Devine. And this is somebody filling in on Ingram, the Ingram angle. So I guess when she's not working, they just kind of phone it in guest-wise. That's how this started. But anyways, so this New York Post story, just so you know, this guy, Luft, was arrested, or there was an arrest warrant put out for him in Cyprus in February, and he's been on the run ever since. And apparently he's trying to, turn himself into Edward Snowden, which doesn't bode well. But let's continue. I have not watched this part of the clip, but here we go.
I'm Pete Hegseth, in for Laura Ingram.
Well, it's a vast improvement, Pete.
On this Thursday edition, a special edition of the Ingram angle. Thanks.
Why is it special? Oh, because she's not there, right? Yes. Anytime the show that's named after you is run by someone else, it's a special edition.
Here. And we start tonight with another layer of intrigue involving Hunter and the Biden family's shady business association.
Dun, dun, dun!
Let's watch.
For 4 years, I was senior advisor to the China energy company CEFC.
Okay, this is, I have to say, we'll look at the whole video of this guy, because, but this is not where it starts. He doesn't open with that line. But that should, one would think that a senior advisor to CEFC might not be the best source in terms of who the GOP wants to use to go as evidence against a U.S. citizen.
At the same time of its dealings with the Biden family.
Or the deal that didn't go through. By the way, for the record, to backtrack in case anybody knows, this energy company wanted to start a like business in the United States, and they were reaching out to Hunter Biden through Rob Walker and Tony Bobulinski to try and make this happen. Now, there was some money that looks like it was put into an account like, okay, we're going to start this deal. You're going to invest your time. You'll work as a lawyer. We'll do the thing. But you got to put a deposit down in case it's fuck you money. And then ultimately, interestingly enough, one of the biggest pieces of exculpatory evidence in the Hunter Biden laptop story is that there are emails basically saying that if CEFC, the Chinese energy company that wants to do business in the United States, cannot start a subsidiary, the videos, I don't know why the audio is low on the video. Sorry. I will try and bring that up as best I can. Hunter Biden was essentially saying, look, if you guys can't start a subsidiary in the United States, I can't do business with you. That's, and if it was all about Chinese collusion and all this kind of stuff, they wouldn't have to do that. He would have just gone, send it to my bank in Cyprus account, whatever. I turned the audio up as loud as I could on that side. I beg your pardon. I'll see what I can do otherwise as we go along. They're not all this quiet. I think it's just, that's why this is a special edition of, here, I'll turn on the closed captions in case it sucks. Shading Business Association? I think it means shady, but we'll see. Anyways, so the deal fell through because they wouldn't open a U.S. subsidiary that would be under U.S. law. This guy worked for the company and was part and parcel to that project starting and then them closing it, cutting the deal off because Hunter Biden insisted on them following the law. Please continue.
Under normal circumstances, I would be testifying before Congress about my experience with CEFC.
By the way, yes, I'm not surprised he's reading from a script, just for the record. But the way he's got it kind of down and to the left makes it seem kind of sketchy anyways. It's like a hostage video, but just in general.
Sadly, due to circumstances I shall describe here in this video, I am forced to tell you this story via video.
AKA not under oath.
There are no normal circumstances in this case. That was the missing witness from the Biden corruption investigation.
Oh, boy. And by the way, I need you guys to contextualize everything that Fox says about this fucking guy when I show you what his day job is. That's the part. And no, this guy's Israeli. He lived in Russia and China, but he supposedly lives in Israel most of the time. It looks like the State Department waited till he left Israel to go after him because they didn't want to embarrass Netanyahu or the Israeli government because he was engaged in this kind of shit. And so that seems to be why they waited, but we won't know for a while. But all right, wait, just understand. Can I just pretend you and I are sitting there and we have an asshole neighbor we all hate. They're just a jerk. And while we do not wish anyone ill physical harm upon them, we see in the distance them yelling at neighbors and, almost kicking their dog and just being a prick. And they just start stomping across their yard. And I reach over and I tap you on the shoulder. And I point to a rake that is right in their path. And you and I just sit there and watch them stomp their way towards it. Okay? Just, okay. Here we go. This is, remember, Fox News, James Comer, Jim Jordan. This guy is their witness. This is the guy. This is the guy.
His name is Israeli professor Dr. Gal Luft.
Well, I don't think that's a long name. His name is Gal Luft. He is an Israeli professor, sort of.
He laid out his bribery allegations against the president's family in an extraordinary video filmed in an undisclosed location.
It looks a lot like a Ramada near the breakfast bar.
While he is at...
And by the way, obtained by the New York Post. He sent it to them. The same organization, by the way, that was chosen to launch the Hunter Biden story. That's not an accident.
At this moment, on the run.
He is on the run. Like a fox, like a fox, like a fox, on the run.
In the 14-minute recording obtained exclusively by the New York Post.
Sent to the New York Post.
The fugitive former Israeli army officer claims he was arrested in Cyprus to stop him from testifying to the House Oversight Committee.
He can still testify to the House Oversight Committee from hiding. Zoom call? I don't know. What would it take? We could set it up. Hey, man, it's 2023.
That the Biden family received payments from individuals with alleged ties to Chinese military intelligence.
Hey, fuckhead. I don't want to step on anything, but those alleged ties are through CEFC, the company this motherfucker works for. He worked for them for 4 years. He was part and parcel of them setting up the deal. Part of the fact that they were hiring somebody who was Israeli was to soften the impact of the fact that China was trying to do this. That doesn't stick. You didn't realize that if CEFC is tied to the military, this motherfucker worked for them for 4 years. All right. Rake.
The self-proclaimed fall guy says he provided the incriminating evidence to 6 officials from the FBI and the Department of Justice
during the Trump administration.
A secret meeting in Brussels in March of 2019.
Why did the Trump administration keep this meeting secret?
But alleges that it was covered up.
Over an intensive 2-day meeting.
It's a long meeting. It's a very long meeting. Or was it?
I shared my information about the Biden family's financial transactions with CEFC.
Did you share yours? How much did they pay you? Because this sounds a lot like the worm pretending he didn't know about the hook, but
including specific dollar figures. But perhaps the most...
Which they already have, because it was already announced. Never mind.
Alarming information I revealed was of a mole within the DOJ who shared classified information with Hunter Biden and his Chinese partners.
By the way, this is old One Eye. The one-eyed FBI agent that Marjorie Taylor Greene was talking about. That's who he's talking about.
After Brussels, I never heard back from the DOJ.
Who was president when that happened? There was a Bill somebody in charge of the DOJ, and then there was. I know that they had swapped FBI heads during the last administration, but I don't remember who suggested that guy. We'll figure it out.
But instead of showing appreciation for my whistleblowing...
Okay, also, you're not a fucking whistleblower. You're not. You're an alleged witness to a crime. You're not a whistleblower. Fuck off. Honest to God. Okay. A referee, where the whistleblower comes from, the concept of a whistleblower, is part of the fucking game. You don't get to bring whistles to the game and blow them every time you disagree with the call. That's just for the record.
I became public enemy number 1.
Okay, no, you didn't. You are not public enemy number 1. You're not even in the top 20. If you're public enemy number 1, unless they are the head of ISIS or something and are in a cave far away from a drone strike, cannot make a Ramada Inn video and mail it to the New York Post. But we'll get there. Hold on.
Yeah, they didn't have time to get back to him. He goes on to describe
During the Trump administration.
how over the next 4 years, he, his family, friends, and associates were harassed and intimidated. Finally, in February of this year, he was arrested in Cyprus on an extradition request from the Southern District of New York for allegedly violating the Export Arms Control Act.
Allegedly, well, first of all, he's alleged to have done it. He was arrested on that charge. It's an important distinction, but not that he knows the difference.
After his arrest, he tweeted, "I've been arrested in Cyprus on a politically motivated extradition request by the U.S. The U.S. is claiming I'm an arms dealer. It would be funny if it weren't tragic. I've never been an arms dealer. DOJ is trying to bury me to protect Joe, Jim, and Hunter Biden." And he defended himself again.
You're not going to read this one? Shall I name names?
In his video statement.
I, who volunteered to inform the U.S. government about potential security breach.
And by the way, the potential security breach was that Hunter Biden was allegedly starting a deal that never happened, that never went through other people that started the whole thing. I guess that's Rob Walker, right? That never happened, that very possibly this asshole is one of the point people on making happen, and it didn't, so he let his CCP handlers down in this idea. But the idea is that Hunter Biden is a disgusting criminal and his dad is a disgusting criminal because they were seeking to do business with a company that he worked with for 4 fucking years.
And about compromising information about a man vying to be the next president. I'm now being...
Which is what the deal was supposed to do if it hadn't been... If Hunter Biden hadn't said, you guys have to set up a U.S. company or I can't do business with you. And then when they decided not to do it, they're like, well, we'll just use it as blackmail or try.
Hunted by the very same people whom I informed and may have to live on the run for the rest of my life.
Dun, dun, dun. Missing Biden corruption case witness Dr. Luft details allegations against president's family in extraordinary video.
He says he's being hunted. I mean, those are...
Oh my God, it's a terrible word. And you know, certainly someone who worked for a Chinese energy company and who's being arrested for arms sales in the capital of money laundering of Cyprus would never be one to lean towards hyperbole, especially in a video they released to the New York Post while on the run. All right.
Strong words. The New York Post reports that House Oversight Chairman James Comer, who was preparing to interview Luft before he disappeared, says he remains a potential witness in the Biden family probe, despite the fact that he is a fugitive at this moment.
Right. So again, who are you going to believe? The current and former DOJ, I guess the people who ran it during the Trump administration, the ones who are running it now, or an arms dealer from Israel who worked for a Chinese energy company for 4 years, who wanted to inform on Hunter Biden and Joe Biden because they almost did a deal with a company he worked for 4 years.
Luft's explosive allegations, well, they need to be addressed. And his motive?
Oh, don't worry. I got you covered.
Couldn't be clearer. This does not have anything to do with partisan politics.
Of course not. This doesn't have anything to do with partisan politics. This has to do with international politics. This guy is a paid CCP flack. That's what he does for a living. It's not about Republican versus Democrat. He's trying to fuck democracy entirely. Don't get me wrong. I don't think for a second that this asshole is on his side either. Although I don't know what side he's on in terms of, you know, in the fuck democracy zone. But no, he's not a Republican or a Democrat. He's anti-America, period. I'll show you in a minute. Shit, this is, again, rake.
I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat.
You're not a U.S. citizen. A derp.
I have no political motive or agenda.
That's a lie.
I did it out of deep concern.
Yeah, guys, he cares about us, about America. He's worried that America's going to be in a tough spot, guys. Guys, he wants us to be okay. He wants us to be fine.
That if the Bidens were to come to power, the country would be facing the same traumatic Russia collusion scandal, only this time with China.
Ah, I see. So this guy is also under the impression, by the way, that the Russia collusion allegations against Trump are false and drummed up largely by Russia as a control point. So I guess he believes the same thing about China, whatever. Anyways, this is something he did before the election. But
sadly, because of the DOJ's cover-up,
yeah,
this is exactly what happened.
Oh, it's so sad. It is sad. Guys, it's sad. It's sad. It gets sadder. Just wait. Rake.
We've reached out to the DOJ, by the way, for a comment, and we have yet to hear back.
They won't even return your phone calls? What chance do the rest of us have?
Joining me now is Miranda Devine, a perfect guest for this Tonight Fox.
Yes, because she's never seen the laptop and she's been talking about it for 4 years.
News contributor and the New York Post columnist who broke this story. Also with me is Mike Davis. He's the
in his defense, it was broken already.
Founder and president of the Article 3 Project. Miranda, I mean, fantastic scoop by you. If what Luft says is true,
just wait.
How does this change the course of the investigations, not just into Hunter, but into Joe?
Well, look, I think he's going to be a witness still. That's what James Comer wants to do. He was already in talks to be a witness when he was arrested.
And they're like, yeah, this isn't working out well. Can you fuck off, please?
You know, he is a fugitive. Obviously, that discredits him somewhat, but...
Somewhat. I mean, look, all he was doing was taking Chinese guns into Africa. It's not like he was getting white people killed. I mean, come on. Just a little bit. Just a little.
Perhaps that is the aim, to stop him, as he says, to stop him from testifying.
Yeah.
The things that he told me about the Brussels meeting and other facts about the Bidens have been corroborated since he told me about them.
Yeah, especially the part where the deal with CEFC didn't go through because Hunter Biden insisted on a U.S. affiliate opening and being subject to U.S. laws, and they went, "We're not fucking what? What are you out of your fucking mind? We're not doing that." And then they're calling Bobolinsky and going, "We were going to give you hundreds of millions of dollars. Go yell at him. Ask him if he wants 10% for his dad. Maybe that'll work." And they're okay. So how about 10% for the big guy? No. All right.
In other ways, he's given me a document to show that that Brussels meeting was in fact scheduled by the Southern District of New York. And, you know, he's described by people who knew him in Washington, D.C. as a credible person with deep intelligence ties.
Whoa. See, I thought she was going to go a credible person with deep intelligence.
As a credible person with deep intelligence ties, he founded and ran a sort of an energy think tank, which had
a sort of an energy think tank while working as an employee of CEFC out of China. Does anybody else not see the fucking red flag being run up that if this was reversed, Fox would be flipping? Never mind. Okay.
As its advisors, such luminaries of sort of Washington, D.C. life as the former CIA Director James Woolsey, former NSA Director Robert McFarlane. So he was well plugged into Washington, and
yeah, he was well plugged in.
It is correct, I have verified that he was partners with the very Chinese from CEFC that Hunter Biden and his uncle Jim Biden were receiving money from.
By the way, why'd they receive money? They received money because they wasted everyone's time. Because they wasted their time in They were like, here's the deposit money that we put on hold while we build this company, and we didn't open up an American subsidiary, so sorry for fucking with you. And we'll just use this money exchange to bribe you later.
Billions of
is the idea.
Dollars. And so I guess he had the access to be able to know that information.
Uh-huh. The access to the CCP, I guess. All right.
We've heard about
Yes. Again, let me make this very clear for the cheap seats. New York Post, Miranda Devine, James Comer, and Fox News, and everyone else, I suppose, on that tree, is making the case that the whistleblower that they trust is the guy who worked for CEFC, which they say is a Chinese military-connected company for 4 fucking years, at least. Also, by the way, his think tank being funded by China the rest of the time, but worked directly as an employee for CEFC for 4 fucking years, while this deal was supposedly attempting to be made, a deal that never was made because they would not open an American subsidiary. This guy worked there for 4 fucking years, and these folks say that makes him credible and makes the idea that Biden cut the deal and didn't cut the deal off and didn't do it, makes them, tied to the Chinese military. Yeah. Wait, and we're not even at the rake yet. Remember, this is the person that James Comer wants everybody to, after they testify, or during the time they testify, or during the time they say they testify, to go back into the internet, which is forever, and look at the kind of shit this guy says, which we will do in just one moment. You're watching House Parks Megaworldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Venmo, PayPal, tip jar, follow and subscribe. Here we go.
At an FBI mole before. He's now put flesh on the bones of that. It definitely is a serious...
No, he's the same guy who said that before, and he's saying it again. He's not another person coming forward about this person. He's the same person. He's the actual same person.
Set of allegations. They should have been investigated, and it appears yet again that they weren't.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Why wouldn't they go on the word of a guy who works for CEFC when he says anybody who works with CEFC is totally a fucking criminal? Then why would... Oh.
He would be the 5th whistleblower whose allegations about the Bidens were just buried by the DOJ.
During the Trump administration, when they were actively seeking these things. Just wait.
Yeah, folks are blowing the whistle all over the place. And
yeah, he's not a whistleblower. He's an alleged witness. And even with the paperwork that supposedly he sent forward, there are no crimes alleged. Period.
No one's hearing it. The game just continues. Mike, anyone involved in Hunter's corrupt business dealing, they're not going to be a Boy Scout. And Dr. Gall...
Right. The guy's not a Boy Scout, okay? So he drops guns in the middle of African war zones. And sure, he's tied to money laundering throughout Cyprus. And, of course, he worked directly for the organization that even the whiff of working with makes Hunter the most evil, corrupt criminal on the planet. But this guy who worked there for 4 fucking years is just, a job's a job. You got to pay the bills.
Luft appears to be no exception to that. But does that discredit his allegations in your mind? Or, I mean, there are...
Of course not. It makes them even... I mean, honestly, if someone comes forward and they've got a smoking gun in their hand and blood on their hands, clearly that's someone that knows a lot about murder. And so I'm going to trust their opinion.
Are going to be unsavory characters here if we're talking about these types of dealings.
I mean, we're talking about the Bidens. This is the Bidens who face an allegation that they took $10 million in foreign bribes and threatened to pull $1 billion in U.S. aid from Ukraine.
Yeah, this is dumb. We've asked and answered this at the order of the fucking president. Again, the entire CFR tape that wasn't a gotcha, like, hot mic situation. He's speaking on a fucking stage in front of a group of people. When Biden says, when the Poroshenko says, I'll call the president, and Biden says, call him. That's where the entire controversy dies around the firing of Shokin.
if the president didn't fire the prosecutor in Ukraine investigating Burisma and the Bidens. This is the Biden Justice Department that just cut a sweetheart deal with Hunter Biden on failing to file taxes and giving essentially a deferred sentence on a felony gun charge to cover up 2 years of millions and millions of dollars of alleged foreign corruption and bribes of the Bidens. I would.
Yeah, based on what? Why is, if you're covering it up, why would you plead guilty to tax evasion on money that you're trying to hide? I mean, you'd have to argue what money, right? Never mind.
Say about this whistleblower, he named specific names, dates, places, amounts. The House Oversight and/or the House Judiciary Committee and/or the House Ways and Means Committee need to start issuing subpoenas for depositions of these people at the Justice Department, these 6 specific officials at the Justice Department that he named.
Because they can't come forward because the guy is actually under investigation as an arms dealer and for the violations of FARA and for money laundering and all kinds of other shit. So they won't be able to talk about it. So it'll just let the, oh my God, if there's smoke, go on and on and on. But again, let me remind you, Fox News tonight, and the Ingram, maybe this is why Laura Ingram isn't on her show tonight. Let's make that accusation just for the fuck of it. She stepped out because even she doesn't like the whiff of this dude. And she just knows that if there's going to be tape of her showing this guy and going, that's the dude, it's why I called it whistleblowback.
And have them come in, provide their documents, get the embassy officials in Brussels and run this down.
Yeah, no doubt.
No doubt. Totally. So, all right, let's go to this guy. So this is Gal Luft. This is the actual dude. This is and we'll start off with the tape that he sent to Miranda Devine, and then it went to the Post or vice versa, or Miranda Devine at the Post or whatever the fuck. And this is the 14-minute video he taped and sent to them. This is Professor Gal Luft, Israeli alleged arms dealer, definite former employee of CEFC, worked for and with China for better part of a decade. And those of you that know my history of traveling to China and going over there, and my kind of awakening, let's just say, to what was going on post when Xi Jinping came in, and how the government and everything changed there, and who would double down on working with them during that time, and sort of the snare that was effectively being set. You know, that was part of the plan that Xi Jinping he thought he was going to do. Now, obviously it didn't work, and it's fucked the entire country into a cocked hat, but we'll get to that later.
Good day.
Goodbye.
My name is Dr. Gal Luft. For the past 20 years, I have been the co-director of the Institute for the Analysis of Global Security.
Okay, so 20 years he's been doing this, which is a global energy and security organization, a think tank in D.C. 20 years. During that time, he was also, well, I'll let him tell you.
A Washington-based think tank focused on energy security. For the past 15 years, I've been a resident of Israel.
And a resident of Israel.
For 4 years, I was senior advisor to the China energy company CEFC.
For 4 years, he was the senior advisor to CEFC, a paid employee of CEFC, the company that, because it sent even $1 to Hunter Biden, is why the Republicans feel comfortable saying that he has ties to people with ties to people with ties to people to the Chinese military. This motherfucker was the senior advisor
at the same time of its dealings with the Biden family.
Right. So they brought you on specifically to set up this snare, this scam, this blackmail plan, and it didn't work? Do you owe them money?
Under normal circumstances, I would be testifying before Congress about my experience with CEFC.
Yeah, but that requires you to be under oath, so...
Sadly, due to circumstances I shall describe here in this video, I am forced to tell you this story via video.
No, you're not. No, you're not. In current day America, you could absolutely walk into any American embassy anywhere, turn yourself in, and declare yourself a political prisoner of the current administration and demand that the entire Republican Party protect you from whatever.
My ordeal goes back to a fatal decision I made in March of 2019 to share with the US government my knowledge about the Biden family's relations with CEFC.
In 2019, which interestingly enough is right about the time that Rudy Giuliani was out, because Trump was apparently the only person he was afraid of running against was Joe Biden, and there was rumblings that would happen. And so they were out combing the world for dirt on the Bidens so they could push back on it. Everybody else, they thought, we'll just run on commie if it's Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren, but it's really tough with Biden. So we're gonna let's just go anywhere that the family did business or that Biden was during the Obama administration, just dirty him up.
As I said, it was in March of 2019.
March of 2019. Yep.
In a 2-day session at the U.S. Embassy in Brussels. Mm-hmm. I insisted that the meeting take place in March because at the time there were rumors that Joe Biden was planning to run for president. I saw it as my civic duty to alert the government beforehand and give it enough time to probe the issue.
Civic duty. Guys, he flew to Brussels on his own dime to warn the U.S. government because he's so worried about America. He wants America to do well, and America doesn't do any better than Donald John Trump.
I want to be clear. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat.
I'm a fugitive.
I have no political motive or agenda.
What do you think the chances are that I bring up a video next that points to, I guess the word agenda would be too small.
I did it out of deep concern that if the Bidens were to come to power, the country would be facing the same traumatic Russia collusion scandal, only this time with China.
Yeah, you could argue that we haven't really, and we wouldn't if you hadn't made up this bullshit story. But all right, please continue.
Sadly, because of the DOJ's cover-up, this is exactly what happened. The DOJ sent to Brussels a delegation of 6 people, 2 prosecutors from the Southern District of New York, by the names of Daniel Reichenthal and Catherine Ghosh, and 4 FBI agents.
Who was running the DOJ at the time? Does anybody remember? There was a guy. I mean, I don't think he likes the president he was working under anymore. But I don't remember if it was. He's a big. Wasn't he a Biden delegate even? I don't remember. It's been so long.
One of them was Special Agent Joshua Wilson from the Baltimore Field Office, which also happens to cover the state of Delaware.
The Baltimore Field Office covers Delaware? Why is there a Delaware field? Never mind.
Now you want to ask yourself, why did the government dispatch to Europe so many people?
Because Donald Trump was president and he feared running against Joe Biden. And he was using government resources and his own personal legal team headed by Rudy Giuliani to chase down any fucking thing they could find. I'm just spitballing.
Why 6? Why not 2? The answer is that they knew very well that I'm a credible witness.
Then why all right.
And that I have insider knowledge about
about Chinese military organizations because you worked for one for 4 years? I'm fucking with you.
The group and the individuals that enriched the Biden family.
Or would have if they had rolled over and accepted a Chinese offer to just do a company right out of China and they didn't for it. Never mind.
Over an intensive 2-day meeting.
I bet it felt like 2 years.
I shared my information about the Biden family's financial transactions with CEFC.
And again, did you share yours? I mean, being a senior advisor is one thing, but were you paid before you had that role, and were you paid after? Are you still paid by anyone aligned with the Chinese government? And could it possibly be that they actually did ask you that question, and one of the reasons why they didn't follow up with you is because the answer was, yes, I'm still on the payroll to the CCP?
Including specific dollar figures. I also provided the name of Rob Walker, who later became known as Hunter Biden's bagman.
Really?
Yet, as we now know today from the whistleblower testimony, Gary Shapley, it took the DOJ a whole 21 months to probe the issue and to actually talk to Walker. But perhaps...
Yeah, it's weird that during the Trump administration, they weren't interested. Maybe because Trump's on the hook for way more tax shit, and if it got out that he was trying to go after Hunter Biden for taxes, they'd go, wait a minute, the most Hunter Biden could possibly owe is somewhere like $2 million. Meanwhile, you paid $795 fucking dollars in taxes. You paid more taxes in China than you did in the U.S. Maybe that's why. I don't know.
Perhaps the most alarming information I revealed was of a mole within the DOJ who shared classified information with Hunter Biden and his Chinese partners. I told the DOJ that Hunter was closely associated with a very senior retired FBI official.
What was that word again?
Was closely associated with a very senior retired FBI official.
I see. Thank you for saying retire and then retired, so that word stands out for all of us.
Who had distinct physical characteristic.
Yes, one of them being that he was retired. And people who are retired have a very sort of interesting look about them. As being retired, sometimes they gain 15 extra pounds, just their relaxed state.
He had one eye.
One eye and a gold watch, apparently, that he got when he retired.
What?
A retired mole. How do you have a fucking... Okay.
One of the FBI agents at the time even told me, that would be very easy for us to find. There aren't that many one-eyed people in the Bureau.
Yes. And in this case, there's not even, there might be more outside the Bureau because this fucker was retired.
The information I provided the FBI in March of 2019,
after the guy had been retired for a long time, apparently,
was fully corroborated 9 months later when the famous laptop belonging to Hunter Biden, which contained all the emails and receipts, was handed to the FBI.
That's weird. So you generally you're saying there was a three-pronged attack to try and get all this information into the politosphere going into the election, and that this was kind of a full court press.
And guess who seized the laptop from the computer repair shop? It was Special Agent Joshua Wilson.
Dun, dun, dun!
Who was with me in Brussels earlier.
Yes, and went, hey guys, there's metadata on this motherfucker that actually comes from this guy. Fuck. Well, that was a waste of... I had fun in Brussels. The waffles were great.
In other words, the FBI knew about, from me, about the Biden CEFC deals.
The deals that didn't happen.
Before they got hold of the laptop, way before. They had enough...
Right, and it didn't work because they looked into it and they went, we can't take a CEFC employee's word and use that as a predicate to go after someone who they tried to make a deal with Biden and then it didn't go through, and they're mad about that deal, and a disgruntled party on the side of a deal that didn't happen is a terrible fucking witness, and so they blew it off. So I guess you're saying that they had to take that fake evidence and funnel it some other way. Anyways, please continue.
Time to investigate the issue, but they didn't.
Oh, by the way, This isn't even the video that I'm going to share with you guys. This isn't even the sweet stuff. Oh, hang in there. That's why this is a Hal Sparks Whistleblowback special report. I should have a button or something.
I like fighting number 2.
No, that's not it. I should probably, let's see what the, where's a, I made the whole, there we go. Hello, bullshit. Yeah.
After Brussels, I never heard back from the DOJ.
So they do have taste.
But instead of showing appreciation for my whistleblowing,
You're also not a whistleblower. You're an alleged witness. The whistleblowing part doesn't even come in for another possible couple years.
became public enemy number 1.
No, you didn't.
Over the past 4 years that followed, me, my family, my friends, my associates,
Even during the Trump years, they were that mad at you for trying to scam them. Okay,
were all harassed, intimidated,
terrible.
and finally, I was prosecuted. Despite
You and by the way, I want you to remember, if you will, let's put another pin in this. 4 years he worked for CEFC, and 4 years since he gave this information, he's been on the run. He's been public enemy number 1. He was tailed and everybody was slandered and slammed and slandered for the last 4 years. The last 4 years have been hell. This guy was prosecuted this February, but the last few years have just been shit. Like he hasn't been able to do anything. He's been on the run, and the Biden crime family's after him. Just remember that, because he just, yeah.
despite all that, on the eve of the 2020 elections,
Curious that you waited right up till it.
I sent my lawyer to Washington to meet with then acting Deputy Attorney General, Mr. Richard Donoghue, to ensure he was informed about the information I had given his department in Brussels 19 months earlier.
And, to help him out with Jan 6.
And also to warn him that there may still be a mole within the DOJ.
A retired mole, but still. Also, yeah, somebody just pointed out in the chat, what fucking crime are we talking about? Just say it. This is a 14 fucking minute video. I mean, other than just playing the fucking violin, I'm not quite sure what's actually being said here. That other than Bill Barr sent a group of people to run down every possible allegation by every fucking lunatic and criminal, subspecies out there in an attempt to protect Trump from having to run against Joe Biden.
Mr. Donoghue confirmed to my lawyer that he was aware of my claims. But now we learn from the IRS whistleblower that it was Rich Donoghue himself who suspended the investigation.
Yeah, he didn't say he believed them. Yes, I'm aware of his bullshit. I've still got some of it on my shoes, actually. I've got to go change.
A few weeks earlier, on September 4th, 2020, on the grounds that it was, quote, too close to the elections. Finally, in February this year, I was arrested in Cyprus on an extradition request for...
What were you doing in Cyprus? Just, it's nice there? I mean, it sounds lovely. I imagine it's a wonderful place to vacation. Especially if you like to lay on the beach and launder money.
From the Southern District of New York, the very same office that...
By the way, Interpol was looking for him. They were the group that actually exercised the warrant, but they have warrants for him from other countries as well. Just say it.
Met with me in Brussels. The 7-count indictment said I violated the Arms Export Control Act, and if I convicted, I would face up to 100 years in prison.
Well, that's a lot of counts, man. I don't think you get, just for violating it once, you don't get up to 100 years. It sounds like there's multiple counts there. Like, how is it a year per rifle?
I was detained in Cyprus. I was portrayed in the international media as an arms dealer, even though I never traded a bullet in my entire life.
No, just missiles and drones and IED materials and just the rifles themselves. Would you leave the bullets up to somebody else? What the fuck does that mean?
In fact, nowhere in my indictment the DOJ claimed or presented evidence that I bought, sold, shipped, or financed any weapons.
You didn't buy, sell, ship, or finance them. I see. So you just made the introductions and somebody else handled all the the paperwork? Cool.
I was also charged with acting as an unregistered agent of CEFC, which is a FARA violation.
Right. While you were attempting to drag the former vice president at that time's son into an international deal in an attempt to create a blackmail scheme. Yeah, we get that.
The DOJ says that I caused the payment of $6,000 a month to former CIA Director James Woolsey in order to put his name on an article I had ghostwritten for the China Daily newspaper.
Look, some of you are going, wait a minute, this guy ghost writes articles on the China Daily. Why would that be hinky? I can't think of a reason.
Nowhere in the indictment, the DOJ mentioned the well-known fact that Mr. Woolsey had been an advisor to my think tank since 2002.
Cool. My question is if he's been an advisor to your think tank all that time, why can't he write his own fucking articles?
And that there was nothing in the article that represented Chinese interest. To the contrary. The notion that I, Gal Luft, spoon-fed a CIA director with policy proposals on China, treating him like a useful idiot.
This seems very specific, don't you think?
It's not only an insult to the intelligence community, it is an insult to the intelligence of every American.
Yes. The appeal to insult. How dare they? I think there's a word that often comes to mind, if I may. What is it? This guy right here. Why would this play? Hold on. Oh, play, you silly thing. It's not playing. Hold on. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Outrageous. Thank you. Anyway, finally, it took him a second. This is the appeal to outrage. That's the idea.
The U.S. government claims that I acted on behalf of CEFC.
You did. You were the senior advisor to CEFC for 4 fucking years.
And therefore, I'm a foreign agent. But let me tell you a little secret.
Cool.
The same CEFC that the U.S. government claims was associated with the Chinese intelligence and, quote, an international criminal organization.
Okay, first of all, I have not heard anybody refer to CEFC being an international criminal organization except Republicans who are tying it to Hunter Biden. Now, the next sentence out of this fucker's mouth is fucking gorgeous in terms of the Republicans throwing their lot in with this dude. And this isn't even the best stuff.
Was a 501c3 charitable organization registered in the state of Virginia and approved by the IRS.
So, what? So what we're arguing about, according to this dickhead and James Comer and Miranda Devine and the New York Post and the entire GOP, is that there is an allegation that Hunter Biden was in business with a 501c3 based in Virginia. What? How? Who gives a fuck how much money he got from there? He was working for a charity, according to you, and so were you. What? What? What is that? How in the... How? What?
The same organization was also a major donor to the Clinton Foundation and Columbia University. Needless to say that none of their executives were charged for any wrongdoing.
Right. So, but if that's the argument, then why the fuck... Jesus Christ, if a 501c3 out of Virginia that's not criminal and gives money out all over the place is handing money to the Biden's willy fucking nilly, who cares? What? Shit. All right. This part was really fucking confusing. And this section, this piece right here is exactly why he's not being called as a witness. This is why Comer goes, fuck off, and just like, let me show you this again, if I may. May I? May I? Thank you very much. Thank you. Run that by me again. And he's reading this. This is from his fucking lawyer, so he's reading this.
And quote, an international criminal organization.
Yes, CEFC. Like, what? Remember the fucking Fox clip we just watched?
Was a 501c3 charitable organization registered in the state of Virginia and approved by the IRS. The same organization was also a major donor to the Clinton Foundation and Columbia University. Needless to say that none of their executives were charged for any wrongdoing.
Well, they wouldn't, because you were using that as a shell. But yes, point of order, Mr. Chairman. The overwhelming amount of bullshit is making my eyes water. What is the fucking point? How does any of this make sense all of a sudden? So his defense is that Biden is corrupt because he was doing business with CEFC, and I have the receipts. P.S. CEFC was a 501c3 out of Virginia. Huh? What the fuck? This isn't even the worst of it.
If CFC was indeed a foreign entity,
shit,
tied so closely to the PRC, why was it allowed to operate freely as a public charity?
So the money came in as a public charity. So the money to Hunter was a charitable donation. Then was it? Then what the fuck are we talking about? What? This is all right. If I was this dude, I'd be on the run too. What the absolute shit are you talking about? Right? Well, this is it. This is the fucking whistleblower. This is Jesus Christ. And all right, maggots. We got a couple in here. Tell me, to explain that to me. Explain that to this guy trying to cover his own ass with CEFC is explaining. All right, that he's saying that Hunter just took money from a nonprofit in the United States. Huh?
Why did the government expose taxpayers to the risk of funding an entity it knew at the time was so compromised? Why did they not warn anybody?
Because it was the Trump administration? You got me. Maybe it started out as a good organization, and then it had a poison pill in it. That doesn't sound like something the CCP or the Russians would do, does it?
Isn't the role of government to protect its people?
Yes, that's one of the reasons why there's an arrest warrant for you, sir.
I'm also being charged for making a false statement in Brussels.
Mm-hmm.
But why was I in Brussels to begin with?
Because you're a paid agent of the CCP, and they funded you doing this, and you were promised some sort of reward on the other side, and you're mad because you didn't get it? I'm spitballing.
Was I there to eat Belgian waffles?
That's a little TMI. I don't know. I'm going to go with no, because waffles make you happy, and you're a miserable bastard. I'm just saying.
The DOJ charged me for making a statement in a...
Right. And by the way, no one ever gets up out of their chair to lie. You always do it. People only lie from home.
A voluntary meeting that would have never come to bear if not for my good citizenship.
Yes, that's what it was. Your good citizenship as a employee of a Chinese military contracted organization who's been a resident of Israel but of questionable citizenship, God knows where you are, who's been in Cyprus a bunch laundering money and was trying to set up a deal with yes, good citizenship. Of what country?
So let me propose an idea.
Okay.
Why won't the DOJ make my indictment public? Do it.
Oh, because it's international, and because they're still chasing down other people that were coordinating with you, and it would start an international incident with the Chinese right when we're trying to figure out what the fuck is going on with them. That's probably why.
Make my day. Put it on your website.
Make my day.
So that every American can see the nature of the allegations against me, the quality of the evidence.
Well, no, they're not going to post the evidence, fuckhead. There's a trial that's going to happen. All right.
And the length the government is willing to go to weaponize the justice system to punish whistleblowers like me.
You're not a whistleblower. You're an alleged witness to criminal activity. Unless you're arguing that CEFC was not a 501c3 and was not a charitable organization, but may have been a sock puppet for the Chinese Communist Party, using it to manipulate the... Nah.
I have another idea.
I'm sure it's as good as the last one.
Why won't the FBI submit to Congress the minutes from the Brussels meeting? Let everybody see what happened in Brussels.
Well, no, because you went there to make an allegation. You're getting paid by the allegation, dumb fuck. For all we know, you're sent there by the Chinese or through, any other kind of, fucking Trump could have paid you personally because they knew about this stuff, or Jared Kushner could have arranged this, and you went to Brussels to kind of drum this shit up, and then you would just go into the wind and we could go allegation, allegation, allegation without ever having to go through with it. But you're not going to get paid unless it actually goes somewhere, unless it's valuable, and then it's lost its value, and now you're fucked. So you want to make it valuable again. So you're like, hey, if I get them to post those things, then you guys give me an exit visa.
Why not?
Because you got a trial coming up and they're going to parlay evidence against you. I don't know. Ask your lawyer.
Are you trying to protect anything?
Yes. Ironically, your right to a fair trial.
Are you trying to protect anybody? I also hope that the DOJ can explain why they targeted me in Cyprus and not in my home country of Israel, where I reside most of the time.
I don't know. Maybe they just looked up and why the fuck maybe they were all set to grab you in Israel and they realized, hey, this motherfucker beat feet.
After all, the U.S. shares a bilateral extradition treaty with Israel.
Right. So you got wind of this and you fled to Cyprus where you think they don't. Oh, I see. All right. Well, that's clear. Okay. So yeah, one of your moles, Captain One Eye, the Wonder Weasel, called you up and said you're about to be picked up, and so you fucked off to Cyprus, hoping that that or the Caymans or one of these areas where the U.S. can't pick you up, and it didn't work because Interpol came.
So if any of my crimes are real and serious, and this is not just political prosecution, why did the U.S. need to sneak up on me during a short visit to Cyprus?
I don't know. Why were you in Cyprus? Were you engaged in that criminal activity? Maybe, I'm just going to float this out there, as someone who facilitates arms deals while doing everything he can to keep a relatively thick stack of paperwork between you and the direct implication in those things, you can't not cash the check. And some of your money laundering was taking place in Cyprus. And while Interpol was there, they were aware of the warrant. And they were in Cyprus dealing with another money laundering thing. Like, hey, isn't that fucking guy that the U.S. Hey, that's him. Fucking snatch that dude up. They didn't fly a bunch of FBI agents over there. I'm just saying they were. I guess Interpol was in the neighborhood.
Do they not trust the Israeli judicial system to judge?
Well, considering what Netanyahu's trying to do to it, I don't know, but it doesn't matter.
This issue on its merits? What's going on here?
I think you're getting busted for shit you've been doing all along, and it's biting you in the ass, I think.
Also, why did the DOJ wait 6 whole years, well beyond the statute of limitation, to indict me?
6 whole years? The fuck are you talking about? You said 4 years. You lied to them in 2019, dickhead. If you don't trade arms, why you're saying that you traded arms 7 years ago?
And
what the fuck does statute of and by the way, statute of limitations is from the discovery of the crime, not the crime date itself. So all right. This guy's magic.
Why did the DOJ choose to unseal the indictment on November 1st, 2022, the very same week of the midterm elections?
The very same week of the midterm election. The news was busy, and they were, I guess, trying to help you out?
Could this have anything to do with the fact or the fear that once Republicans gain control over Congress and begin to investigate, their cover-up would be in full display?
No, because even if they lost the election, they'd still have until the swearing in on January 1st, or the next session, to do whatever the fuck. Also, the DOJ isn't directed by Congress in that regard. But why would they try to bring you to the United States under arrest if they're trying to keep you away from the Congress being able to interview you under oath? If you're in the United States, I don't give a fuck where you are. If Congress wants to talk to you, they can get a prisoner, they can sit them down in a fucking room with their lawyers and tape the whole goddamn thing.
And perhaps the biggest question of all.
What the fuck am I watching?
Why am I being indicted for FARA? For ghostwriting an innocuous article.
Innocuous? You just, by the way, thanks for admitting you're writing your ghostwriting articles in China Daily. We'll get to that in just a moment. More evidence to come.
For which I received no payment, let alone...
Yes, he's the Paul Manafort of China Daily.
...from a foreign government. When the mother of all FARA cases, the Biden systemic influence peddling on behalf of foreign governments for which they raked millions, goes unpunished.
Well, because you're actually evidence that they weren't doing that. You are a prime witness to the evidence that they did not take money to benefit the Chinese government in any way. And the Chinese government, while they may have been shopping around and trying to get stuff out of them, never managed to do it. One of the reasons why the Republicans aren't interviewing you or aren't arranging for you to become to be a witness under oath, no matter where the fuck you are, even in secret, which they absolutely could do for your own safety and well-being. It's good. And then, of course, why the Trump administration didn't go after you was because they knew you had more value as a yammerer than an actual witness.
This is, in a nutshell, why I decided to act the way I did.
What, to flee the law? Okay.
Because I do not have faith that I would receive a fair trial.
Why? Honestly, why? I think it sounds like your concern is precisely that you would.
In a New York court. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
CEFC Secretary General Dr. Patrick Ho, who paid Hunter Biden $1 million for God knows what,
apparently to be his lawyer,
was not allowed to mention the word Biden before the jury when he was tried in New York in 2018.
Yeah, I think he wasn't allowed to mention the word Biden. By who? His lawyers? Because they thought it would fuck his case?
The very same prosecutor who is now after me, Daniel Reichenthal,
who knows the case very well, apparently, and knows how Chinese interests were trying to weasel their way into American politics. Please go on.
Told the judge at the time that mentioning the name Biden would, quote, add a political dimension to the case. And the judge agreed.
Right. And they weren't, insofar as I know, were they co-defendants or alleged co-defendants in this?
Which means that if I'm ever brought before a U.S. court, I would not be allowed to utter the word Brussels or...
Yeah, no. Brussels would not make it, unless you were, of course, getting busted for trying to fuck some of the sprouts.
Biden?
Any of the B letters. Yeah. Baba Booey, nothing.
In the real context of my arrest, me being patient zero of the Biden family investigation.
Oh, I see. So the investigation is a malignant disease. Okay.
Would be hidden from the jury.
Why? You can take the stand, right? So you can say whatever the fuck you want in a U.S. court. You absolutely have that right. Patrick Ho would have had to agree with his attorney or the prosecutors to not say anything.
Let it sink in. I, who volunteered to inform the U.S. government about potential security breach.
Just for a free trip to have some waffles.
And about compromising information about a man vying to be the next president.
Of which you have none. There is no compromising information. He has not been compromised. There was no quo, even if you tried to quid the fuck out of this.
I'm now being hunted by the very same...
How does it feel to be hunted? You tell me! All right, sorry, I've been watching a lot of Jean-Claude Van Damme movies lately.
People whom I informed and may have to live on the run for the rest of my life.
Dear God. Like a fox, like a fox, like a fox, on the run.
I warned the government about potential risk to the integrity of the 2020 elections.
What?
If convicted by a U.S. court, would never be able to vote again in the U.S. elections. Just think about it.
Wait, so you're a U.S. citizen now? Who's been working for the CEFC, and a resident of Israel. So you think you'll be convicted, is what you're saying? You've seen the evidence against you, so...
And ask yourself, who's the real criminal in this story?
I'm going to go with you, buddy. And now, let's get to the next part. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hal Sparks Megaworldwide, and I think that shows taste and breeding on your part. Like, subscribe, support the show in any way you can. Spread this shit around because ain't nobody else doing it. Now, I'm sure there will be a couple of people who will address this, outrageous, will address this dickhead. Sorry, I had that automatically set up. Will address this dickhead in a minor news story, whatever. They'll cover it. However, they'll only go so far as to tell you what he says about what he said about when he said it. Okay? He looks like a pale Dinesh. Right. All right. Now, let's think for a moment. This guy's ghostwriting articles for China Daily. He has been running this energy and security think tank, and if anything sort of sends up your Wagner Group shackles when somebody says energy and security think tank, and they spend most of their fucking time in China, Africa, or the Middle East. There's a good reason why you might think that. Now, this is by no means, this next thing I'm going to show you, this is by no means the worst of this fucker talking. As a guy from a think tank about oil and gas and guns and bombs and terror and all that kind of stuff, which he is a self-described expert operating out of Israel and China for the last 15 years while having an office in D.C. and apparently helping the Chinese Communist Party create a 501c3 cover for their financial interests in the country, which, by the way, I'm going to guess will fuck you in a fair court. I'm just doing it. Let me introduce you and all of our GOP friends out there. Hey, Republicans, hi. Yeah, it's me. Yeah, Hal Sparks. Yeah, the guy that's made your kids laugh through his television shows in a way that you never could. The single sexiest liberal talker on the interwebs. We got to come up with something. I don't know, some sales point. The Democratic machine himself, with a capital D. A big D, some would even say. Now, let me introduce you to the guy that you are taking your testicles or your soft and squiggly naughty bits of any sort and putting them under the lip of his trunk on his car and letting him slam the lid down on your junk. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may, this is Dr. Gal Luft. And I know from that last video that we just watched, he was telling you that he's basically been public enemy #1. Oh yeah, for the last 4 years. But that has not stopped him from being a speaker on multiple shows and a paid speaker in a bunch of different areas. As a matter of fact, if I may, before I even open that up, I'll go to here, I'll go to there, and then I'll go, let's see, Luft speech. Yeah, okay. So let's see this. Okay, here you go. So this is, there's a couple of these that are the ones we've been looking at, but here you go. This is the one we just watched of him. U.S.-China Energy Cooperation Lunch Session with remarks by Gal Luft 7 years ago. Turning oil into salt, energy independence through fuel choice. He talked at Google. Turning oil into salt, energy independence through fuel choice. There we go. And then here he is, remarks by Gal Luft, the co-founder of IAGS at the Methanol Policy Forum. Here he is, the U.S. should learn how to share international system with others. This is the Global Governance Institution, where he's speaking there. And SIEW, Gal Luft, co-director of the Institute for Analysis of Global something or others, celebrate, connect, co-create. He's at the Singapore International Energy Week. He's all over the place. And the general conversation, which should come as no surprise, of this dude's tone. Now, Fox News, New York Post, Miranda Devine, the folks over at Laura Ingraham's show, they want to throw their cards in with this dude and his attitude. And he's a trustworthy source, guys. He's the guy. This is a guy who, out of just the goodness of his heart, decided he loves America so much that he's got to do something about it. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you, from a year ago, Gal Luft, a man who was nice enough to speak at Ostim Technical University at the Energy and Security Council for Global Governance or something or other as a speaker a year ago. Because he's a good citizen, taking time out of his day to give a talk on global security. Here you go. This is on human rights. This is a speech. This is him talking about human rights, democracy, and big power competition, EU and Russian perspectives. This is just from session 1. There were multiple sessions. So here we go.
These guys have been around 5,000.
Hold on 1 second. Let me back here. I'll back up here. So here we go. Center for New Inclusive Asia is where he's working. Now, there's a Chinese characters on the bottom there. That is not a company from Singapore or Japan or something like that. That's never mind. Yeah. Dialogue on democracy, human rights, and big power competition. What's not to like? This is December 12th, 2021, kids. This is a man on the run.
It's honored to be with you all. This week has been.
By the way, he's now my least favorite Peter Sellers character, for the record.
A very challenging week for China, because we had two separate incidents that are directly correlated. One is the Summit for Democracy, and the other one was this attempt to boycott Olympics in Beijing, the Winter Olympics, which has turned out to be a flop.
By the way, the Olympics weren't a flop. The attempt to boycott the Olympics in Beijing was a flop. And this summit on democracy was a terrible moment. These countries getting together and trying to build democracy that Biden's been working on. This was, if you'll recall, this is a year ago. This was when the Biden administration and other world governments were focusing on the growth of democracy in Asia.
Because, other than the usual suspects, nobody really joined this diplomatic boycott. But nevertheless, I think that sort of
dreamy, dreamy, dreamy dreams, dreamy, dreamy dream. I'm sleeping in my dreamy, dreamy place. I don't know why this guy's. Cut to him real quick. Somebody doesn't like this dude. Wake up. King Lee, Kinky, KOH Kinky, wake the fuck up.
China in sort of an alarmist mode. China feels that the world democracies are ganging up on it, and it's
terrible. It's terrible that they feel that way. They shouldn't feel that way, right?
Feels the need to defend itself, and I suspect that many of the activities we've seen in China and outside of China, sort of the anti-summit of democracy, had to do with China trying to make the case that what the U.S. is trying to portray it in a negative light, it's not really the case.
Yeah. So China's trying to make the case that the bad shit that's been going on, and this was during fucking lockdowns where they were welding people in, people are screaming from their rooftops, and people were committing suicide, and they were killing people's pets and bleaching runways and all that shit. These are just great examples of how democracy does not work.
And there are more than one way of looking at democracy and human rights. Yeah. Now, first of all, I would say to China, chill. Everything that you see happening now has to do with one word. It's called jealousy.
That's right. So the United States was having these democracy summits because they were jealous. We're jealous of China. And this is in 2021, in December of 2021. All right.
China is successful. China is prosperous. China is lifting more and more people from poverty. China is investing in its neighborhood and in other parts of the world.
Okay. For the record, none of that is true. It wasn't true a year ago. And thanks to people like yours truly, more and more, and the guys at the China show, people are aware of this, or Peter Zion as well. People are aware, that this is all not true. Now, you're welcome. But then, even then, they were like, this doesn't look too good. The videos coming out, people fucking screaming and they're beating women up and throwing them in a fucking dog kennel because of COVID. I don't know if this is. I mean, it might not be great over here, but it ain't that.
The West is confused. The West is unable to get its act together.
That's right. Gosh. And it's just gotten worse.
And speak in one voice. The West is...
Well, you realize that part of the West, quote unquote, which this asshole is allegedly a part of. He's a U.S. citizen who lives in Israel most of the time and stuff, but put that aside for a second. The whole element of the West is that we don't speak with one voice. We have agreement on the how, and the sort of the overall general system, but then you carry it out on a personal level, country to country.
Facing many problems that have to do with cultural disorientation and political atrophy. And of course, a lot of it is being channeled into this type of conversation about our system is superior to yours, etc., and who's writing the rules of the road and everything that we've been hearing all along. So I would say, when people are going after your values, and it means that that's the only weapon that they have left. And
yes, apparently the only weapon the West has left is to go after China's values or their lack thereof. And mainly he's talking about Xinjiang and the Uyghur genocide.
Well, one of the things I want to point out is that, you want to ask yourself, do Americans really care about democracy and human rights?
No, of course not. We don't even like to vote. We don't care about those things. Yes, we do.
Or is it only the government? Because you have to separate.
That's a very weird way to look at it. The government cares about human rights, not the people.
Between America and Americans, okay? The fact that Washington is doing certain things doesn't mean that this is a sort of the highest priority for the American people. And also we want to ask, so why is it happening now? I mean, 4 years of Donald Trump, we barely heard about democracy, we barely heard about human rights.
Yeah, and apparently you had no complaints.
The only thing, by the way, that we heard a lot during the Trump administration was religious freedom. And why? Because there are 70 million evangelical Christians in America who are the base of the Republican Party, and they care about religious freedom. And that's why it was a big issue at that time. But we didn't hear much about criticism of human rights, and it all sort of began to unravel when after the pandemic started and Joe Biden came into power. I would say this, that
by the way, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about in that little chunk. That was kind of a mess. But the idea is that America not caring about human rights and democracy, apparently, that was raveled under Trump, and it became unraveled under Biden.
Overall, I think Americans don't care very much about the state of human rights and democracy around the world. In fact, most of them think that their own democracy doesn't work.
There you go. This is, by the way, let me remind you, Comer's star witness. Please go.
And that has been shown time and again in various opinion polls that Americans have a very poor image of their own system.
It's funny how people in general will often shit talk their own system, especially when they have, what's it called? The freedom to do so. It's funny that in Russia and China, people never, statistically, it's weird. It's like magic.
So, obviously, when you're not happy with your own system, who are you to go and lecture to the rest of the world about how their system is functioning? And when we...
Yes, you complain about your dog barking all the time, so who are you to yell at me for shooting one that doesn't belong to me?
Talk about systems, I want to point out the one thing, and I think that the opening remarks were spot on. Democracy is not an end. It's a means. It's a form of government. But what is the role of government? That's what we need to ask. What is the role of government? The role of government.
What's it for? And how do you get there the quickest?
Is to give you good life, to give you security, to give you the ability to walk at night in the street without being afraid of that you are murdered or your children are kidnapped and so forth.
So I guess you're not going to touch the stabbings in China, the epidemic of stabbings in China, especially of small children that happened all the time. Okay, never mind.
So the good life, and there are a lot of good things go into the good life, and every culture has its own definition what the good life is.
Yeah. And some people decide that the good life is a tactical genocide against a minority in their country carried out in very overt terms. It's a culture. I mean, it's just what we, diversity is our strength on Earth.
But the pandemic has gave us a very, very interesting opportunity. Because the COVID-19 pandemic is the first time in human history.
Okay, I want you to guys keep in mind what the Republicans are saying about lockdowns and all that shit, and how they're like giving like a lot of attention to RFK for what he's saying. And then I want you to remember that this dude who worked for CEFC just filtered this in.
The first time in human history in which all of humanity, all of the countries of the world are facing the exact same challenge at the exact same time.
Well, no, I mean, starvation and the elements and all that kind of stuff has always been a road to
Never had something like this. You know, in the past, you had a natural disaster in one part of the world, and a few years later, another part of the world. And we could see how different countries, different governments, different forms of government are dealing with this. But we never had this sort of beauty contest. We never had all of the countries standing on the same stage, being able to demonstrate how they take care of their people. And the pandemic is the first time that we have this opportunity to compare, this sort of what I call the beauty contest.
Here it comes.
And when we look at this beauty contest, we see that democracies have performed horribly.
There you have it. Yeah. So the idea is that democracies, it was very rough. Only the authoritarian countries, or countries that acted in the most authoritarian way, were successful.
Horribly.
Horribly.
In fact, more than 80% of the people that died from COVID-19 around the world were living, unfortunately, no longer in democracies.
No, we actually give real numbers. That's why. The thing about democracies is we give a fuck about our citizens. So if a bunch of them die, we'll tell you exactly how many.
More than 80% of the people that died from COVID, more than 5 million people that are already dead, were residents of democratic states. So when it came to the ultimate test of protecting your life, defending you from enemy, doesn't matter if it's a virus or a nuclear bomb, the democracies failed.
This is the GOP star witness.
So to me, when I look at it, I say, what do I want from my government? Only one thing I want from my government. Main thing is protect me, defend me from this, from that. And
from this,
when this
from
stretch test occurred, the results are not very good, unfortunately. And I think there are 194 countries around the world that are looking at all of this, and they're saying, okay, what are they talking about? Democracy, but do we like what we see? And I think that the issue is here that when you try to dictate or install a certain software on a certain culture, on a certain people, it's like.
By the way, just for the record, this asshole is arguing that Asians don't take to democracy, not just Chinese. Asian people are kind of programmed differently. They can't do it. It's not right for them. It's a mess.
Trying to install a...
Oh, and the idea also, the racial homogeny of other countries was beneficial, and therefore the United States and its, it's the strife is largely caused because there's a lot of black people here. That's the other argument.
An operating system of a Mac on a PC. It doesn't work, and we've seen time and again the United States, I still remember George W. Bush saying, oh, we're going to go to Iraq, we're going to bring them the democracy, we're going to liberate them from their terrible leadership that we have, and 1 million people later dead, many tragedies. You all know the stories, and we've seen it time and again. We've seen it in Libya, we've seen it in Egypt, we've seen it in many countries where the sort of imperialistic mindset of we're going to come and show you what's good for you, when our own system, our own people are not even satisfied with what we have.
Right. But Americans don't like democracy either.
That brings to one disaster after another. And, when I look at China, these guys have been around 5,000 years.
That's right. They've been around 5,000 years, guys, unlike the rest of us who just showed up a week ago.
They've made every single mistake that is possible.
No, I think the 3 red lines is brand fucking new.
There have been so many tragedies. You've been around, you're America, you're barely 250 years. Most of this time, you were not even a democracy, because there was still slavery and racial discrimination.
China still has both.
You're the new kid in the block. Now, who are you to come and lecture to a culture of 5,000 years that have...
Communism isn't 5,000 years old, fuckhead. Maoism is copped from Marxism. It started in the mid-50s. Our system of government is older.
Done all the experimentations and suffered so much. And you think that you can sort of come with a magic wand and show them what's good for them?
No, we're not even trying to do that.
And I just want to leave you with one point. Let's say that let's just in theory, okay, it's not going to happen, but let's just say, let's say that you somehow convince 1.4 billion Chinese,
800 million,
that your system is better and they should move from the current system to their own, to the system that reflects the sort of the Western style democracy. What do you think will happen? What is this democracy going to look like? Have you ever seen one American scholar, one magazine article trying to describe what a Chinese system would look like if it was a democracy? Nobody's giving a thought to this. It's
yeah. You don't understand. Chinese people are just built different. They can't handle a democracy, guys. Bees need a queen. That you're trying to, you bunch of butterflies are trying to tell the bees how to be butterflies. It's just not going to work.
Sort of like, let's break it and then figure out what to do. And I think it's intellectual laziness that we see today in Washington. That is break, break, break. But
break. Okay, now, if I may, that again, like I said, is this dude making this argument. Let me go back here. Here's the other part that I wanted to show you guys. And this is sort of my final like case close. By the way, I want to say hi to the chat room real quick. Yeah. So this, oh God, fucking dude. He loves China more than Xi Jinping. Just wait. It's worse. And I know this might be a little boorish, but I'm telling you right now, this motherfucker thinks that because people think that the Chinese people could handle being, having their own democracy, that's in its own way racist. Ugh. Okay. And let me see if I can, yeah, okay. So put this in. There you go. So check this out. This is round 2 and then we'll be done. I promise it won't be as belabored as the other one, but I think it's kind of important that you guys get this, okay? Distinguished Fellow of GGI, Director of the Institute for Analysis of Global Security.
Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah.
I must say,
also, I'd like to remind you that this also is him on the run. Supposedly, this man is running from the Bidens because he's afraid for his life.
That after
Still in the same Ramada.
hearing Mr. Lehman, I made an ad hoc decision to
he has prepared remarks. This is off the cuff.
withdraw from my prepared remarks. And because I find that so many of the things that he said are fully aligned with my message.
I don't know what the other guy was talking about. Just get to it.
So I prefer, but rather to expand and to views. I think that it's very dependent. There's a sad reality is that human rights have become political football.
Yeah, human rights are a political football. Nobody really gives a fuck about the Uyghurs. This is just a crowbar where America can get its way.
In the deepening rivalry between the West and the rest.
The West and the rest.
That the collective West is sort of like the self-appointed moral police force of the world. And it has a notorious...
What does that mean? Does that mean the East is the self-appointed genocide, folks? Okay.
A record of using human rights as justification for economic coercion with a goal of selectively targeting certain countries with which they are at odds, while conveniently ignoring even worse abuse carried out by those they wish to court or befriend or benefit from. So there is certainly no consistency there. And I think we
so America bad, and how dare we? And we
all diagnosed the problem correctly. I don't think that the proposals that were made here in terms of what the United States should do have any chance of happening in the reality
Mm-hmm.
for two reasons, or three reasons actually. The first reason is that the collective mindset of America today is that it's really still basking in its own sense of moral and economic superiority.
Well, we are the #1 economy in the world, and our middle class is the top charitable giving group of human beings on the planet. Please continue.
With very little awareness of the sort of the murmurs and the changes and the views of the rest of the world, and in some cases the pushback.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, when there is a pushback,
yes, that's true. There's a pushback. The Chinese government wants to start killing some of its own people, and it doesn't like to be questioned.
It only leads to more of the same, and even becoming the reaction, the response is even worse. The second reason why I don't think any of the proposals will matter much is that the US itself is currently engaged in a systematic denial of human rights from its own people. And we read about it every day, denial of basic rights, the rights of expression. You know, when you...
He means people getting canceled off of social media platforms for telling people to, you know, use ivermectin suppositories. By the way, but he's doing it from China, where literally you get arrested.
Block, when you deplatform your own president from social media.
Former president. He'd already been voted out at that point.
You can only imagine what you could do to regular people.
Well, no, only that guy was sort of, it was almost uniquely suited. We allowed him to, you know, step over the TOS everywhere. Like, all the social media companies were letting him overstep the TOS when the rest of us actually had to abide by them. Trump could just run right past the line, and finally just went, oh no, sorry, it actually should be even.
Whether it's the rights of people over their bodies. So the
rights of people over their bodies. Let me ask some Falun Gong and some Uyghurs about where their kidneys went.
Hearing everyday news that really raise eyebrows about how a country is treating its own people. So it's very, I think, unrealistic to expect that there will be a change in the way that the United States is treating people that are not American. But then there's a third reason that I think why we have a real problem here. We can only address through a major change in the terms of the debate. And that is the domestic political situation in America. We have to understand how those sanctions come about. Okay, if we don't understand how those sanctions come about,
they were talking, by the way, about Russian sanctions and how they were trying to stop it.
Very difficult to undo or to deal with this problem.
Listen to this guy's fucking reasoning for how the sanctions against Russia happened, based on like general will. Watch this.
So in the United States, we have 535 members of Congress. We have 100 senators and 435 members of the House. And many of the sanctions programs are born out of the US Congress. And the way it works is that every congressman or group of congressmen has a pet project, and some of it has to do with their pressures that are applied to them through domestic constituencies. And they come up with those sanctions bills that basically tie the hands of the administration and force the administration to either support or reject those bills. And more often than less, the administration is forced to endorse those bills and turn them into law and apply those sanctions. So it's not...
Okay, so let me shorthand. This motherfucker says that sanctions are not the fault of the politicians, because the money that the folks that are in this gathering and that he talks to in China and Russia, don't worry, your money is well spent. But the pressure from, that's the problem with democracy, is that the constituents are putting undue pressure on these House members who start these sanctions against Russia, and the administration can either apply them or not. What the fuck?
Not only the executive branch, a lot of it comes from the legislative branch. And what a lot of people don't know is that, you know, many of those congressmen have very little understanding of how all these sanctions work in the bigger context. So they're all looking at their own trees, but they don't understand that there is a forest here, and that
I don't know what the fuck is what he's defending here. He's basically just letting Republicans off the hook for voting for some of the sanctions.
the collective impact of those sanctions becomes very self-defeating. So you may be doing the right thing vis-a-vis a specific case, but the overall becomes self-defeating. Just
gibberish, fucking
to
gibberish.
give you an example how intrusive those sanctions are and how overwhelming the sanction program is. So,
by the way, this is this guy's job. This guy, over the last 10 years in particular, but you know, leading up to 2020, certainly, his job was to get the sanctions undone. And you know, with Trump trying to lessen the sanctions on Russia, and then eventually make his deal with the Chinese, and then drop the sanctions around that. And COVID is the only thing that stopped him from doing that. That this guy, his business is arguing against those sanctions.
We have today.
And by the way, this for those of you who don't know, this is the key witness, the whistleblower who doesn't have a whistle to blow, for James Comer, and the guy who's arguing that he was a witness against Joe Biden as an employee of the company that supposedly they were working for, that makes them evil. That I'm getting. Does anybody else smell burnt toast?
26, last time I counted 26 sanction programs. And in other words, 26 countries are under sanction. That's almost 20% of 2 out of 10 countries around the world are under some US sanctions.
Right. That's not a lot. Especially when you talk about the drug trade, human trafficking, modern slavery. Yeah. And what are you going to talk about? Like nuclear weapons, chemical weapons?
But in addition to country programs, there also a huge number of tens of thousands of corporations and individuals that under various sanctions programs.
Here it comes.
Meaning that they are mostly cut off from the international financial system.
This is his audition tape for Russell Brand's show.
In the past 12 months alone, we've witnessed some very unorthodox steps that have been taken by the United States, including 2 cases of US freezing central bank assets of sovereign countries. The first one was about a year ago in the case of Afghanistan. And more.
By the way, no, because the Taliban was going to steal it and spend it on themselves. That's Afghanistan's money. That's the people of Afghanistan's money, was not the Taliban's money. The problem was they're not a recognized government. That's why they did this. Anyway.
Recently, as we all know, the case of Russia. We've also witnessed
Russia. And what did Russia do? What the fuck? Why are we picking on Russia all of a sudden? Shit.
Wholesale seizure of private assets of Russian citizens without any due process, without.
Yeah, we don't have any due process at all, guys. We're seizing the belongings of poor Russian billionaires.
Without any respect to the rule of law.
None. No respect for the rule of law, except for the fact that they invaded another country, and those people are direct ties to the government and to the military in that country, and we're making money off of it at the same time. So the money that they have is that money.
Based on speculation that these people are somehow closely associated with Putin.
Speculation that they are somehow closely associated with him because they're always at his house, and they can't sign a check without his stamp.
And that their assets are so-called ill-gotten, that they're made illegally. Mm-hmm. But again, without any proof, without any legal process, without anything. And
yeah, it's terrible. America, what are you doing? What are you doing? These poor, innocent Russian billionaires who are just, they've taken their salary of $85,000 a year, and they've managed to save for 1,000 years. And using just the scraps left over, they've got a $80 billion fortune.
And all of these uses of this, what we call the long-arm jurisdiction, and the ability to enforce it, values on others, boil down to one thing.
One thing. What does it boil down to?
Allows the U.S. to do it. It's the military power. A lot of countries have strong military. It's one single issue that until it is addressed, nothing will be changed.
Nothing.
And that is a special stat dollar.
Well, run that by me again.
Addressed. Nothing will be changed. And that is a special stat dollar as the world's reserve currency.
There we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Glenn Beck, here's your new best friend. This guy is about to argue for de-dollarization.
And America's control over the plumbing of the global financial system.
Mm-hmm.
I think that stands in the center of all of this. I wrote a book about this called De-dollarization.
Yes, that's right. The key witness against Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, who worked for a Chinese energy company for 4 fucking years, wrote a book called De-dollarization. Hey, GOP, come get your boy.
The rise of a new financial world order.
De-dollarization, the rise of a new financial world order.
And in this book, I describe how various nations are now coming to realize that
that's right.
It is the power of the dollar,
power,
and the control of America over the global, the plumbing system of the global financial system,
that's
allowing
right.
it to impose its will and to embark on this wholesale set of unilateral sanctions. Now, the thing is,
yeah, you can't use dollars if you're going to do that level of crime, and like we got to set the bar someplace.
Is that sanctions rarely lead to behavioral change. I don't think I can recall one case in which sanctions brought about any behavioral change, even in
because no one will admit it.
Extreme cases like Iran and North Korea, we've seen that none of this has led to any change in those countries' behavior. They often lead to retaliation, resulting in lose-lose situations. In fact, we see today sanctions can act as boomerang. Western countries that place sanctions on Russia are among the biggest casualties of those sanctions in terms of.
No, all Western countries have put sanctions on Russia, and the U.S. did the most sanctions, and we're actually doing the best of any economy on the planet.
Inflation and energy crisis. The same is true for the sanctions on China, the new Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act that just
how dare we
recently enter into force has already created shortage in basic items like women hygiene products.
That's right. American women are going without tampons because they were made from cotton picked by Uyghur slaves, and women sorry, but you're just gonna have to just deal, I guess. Yeah, that's it. You heard this, right? You heard that part? Yeah, that there's the blowback from us, the United States, not wanting to participate in modern slavery. Right, where people are forced to, wait for it, pick fucking cotton, is resulting in a shortage of tampons and pads and even probably little wings that attach to them. And are you, yeah? Is that how it's working out? I haven't, look, I'm one of those folks that, one of those guys that will absolutely get stuff for my lady. If she needs me to pick that stuff up, I don't even flinch. Tell me what kind and I'll get the exact one. I'll look around in there a little bit for a minute to make sure I found the correct one. That's because that's love. Yeah. Listen to this again.
The new Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act that just recently entered into force has already created shortage in basic items like women hygiene products and shortage of polysilicon, which is mostly made in Xinjiang and is used to make solar panels. And that undermines America's ability to
fight climate change. Yeah, America, what the fuck is wrong with you? What do you want? You want climate change, or you want to end slavery again? Motherfucker. Like, this guy is arguing that slavery is climate friendly. Again, now it's starting to make sense that he's the star witness for the Republicans.
It's emissions reduction goals and renewable energy adoption.
It's that or slavery.
So we see that those things backfire. And
no, we haven't. No, we fucking haven't. Women are not fucking walking down the street with signs wearing their pussy hats saying I need tampons, chain those people up. The fuck are you talking about?
Not only did they backfire, they never really helped the people on behalf of which you allegedly acted. I mean, what?
Yeah, the Chinese are still sterilizing and murdering and forcing into labor the Uyghur population. That'll show you, America. Just because you're not buying the cotton we're forcing them to pick, Iran and Russia will. So, what's the point? Americans are paying an anti-slavery tax.
What does any of this help the Uyghurs that the U.S. bans products from Xinjiang? Obviously, it doesn't help.
Why? Obviously, because the Chinese will still enslave and torture them? The fuck are you talking about?
So, the reality is that everything I discussed before is now boiling to, we've reached, I mean, both the war in Ukraine and the strategic competition with China have brought the world to what I believe to be a watershed moment, behind which a new global financial system is emerging.
Here it comes. Wait for it. We've talked about it before. Ladies and gentlemen, he's about to go full BRICS.
And we can already see this. The international community is comprised of just under 200 countries. About 50 of them are maybe aligned with the West, but
the ones with all the money.
3/4 of the world, or the UN members, do not share this worldview, do not share this.
Do not share functioning governments.
Moral imperialism.
Moral imperialism. I want you fucking. That's a new one. That's, I gotta say. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the GOP's star witness. And anybody, I know that there are people who are staff members in Congress and some folks even in the White House that occasionally catch my show. I hope you're catching this one. I really are. I really do. Hope that you, because if this motherfucker ever gets questioned, I would like someone to bring up, sir, did you refer to the anti-slavery movement that brought about, laws in this country against using products made with Uyghur slave labor as moral imperialism? Is that the term you fucking used? Moral imperialism. That's this dude's word for abolitionist. How fucking dare you? America, you get rid of slavery over, about 150 years ago, and you've kept it pretty well. You're limping forward, making progress as best you can. And then how dare you tell a country that never outlawed it that you're not going to buy their shit? Moral imperialism. This is the kind of thing I would expect to hear from the kidney. Maybe I won't. Who can say?
That is being exercised at the moment. So we see a lot of indicators that we are going to enter a whole new period. I would point out one of them, and that is the rise of BRICS.
As it comes. What did I tell you? Here it comes.
Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Each of those.
Yeah, India's, it's going to be BRICS because India's bailing on you guys. I'm just letting you know. It's not going to happen. India's not going to be a part of that. They were going to be for a while, but then both Russia and China want to be the primary economic, pin. They want to pin it to the yuan or pin it to the ruble, and I don't think India is going to do that because they're the only one of those countries that has anything even close to a stable economy.
Those countries has, and these are very important economies. Well,
a couple of them used to be.
You have Russia and China, of course.
Of course.
Get it, what sanctions are. South Africa has been through sanctions previously in its history, and
now why? Why did America, with its moral imperialism, have a problem with South Africa? It's the fucking nerve. Does anybody remember? Golly gee, I thanks to the Mandela effect, I've forgotten all of it.
Also knows what it means to be ostracized and isolated from the world economy.
Yeah, why were they? To put one step further, you're so close. Why? Don't want to play Sun City? No?
But even Brazil, I think, has really understood, particularly the case of Lula da Silva, who's probably going to be the next president of Brazil. But if you learn the circumstances under which he ended his previous presidency and found himself in prison, you will understand that there was a hidden hand behind this, and it didn't happen organically.
Well, then how did he get back in? Why? The United States is supporting Lula just being elected because he was elected, not because we like him. Just for not being the most corrupt, awful.
And also India, God. I think, also realizes that there is a overreach of American use of sanctions. Just to remind everybody that India itself was almost targeted with sanctions.
Almost.
In light of its decision to purchase air defense system from Russia.
Right, but only because they couldn't get stuff from here. We didn't stop them from buying fucking Band-Aids.
And then BRICS is expanding into a wider group called BRICS Plus.
Yeah, BRICS Plus. It's like, it's the LGBTQIA++ two-spirit of economic failures. Sorry, I'm not making a parallel there. I'm just using a lot of letters.
Which includes countries like Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, Argentina, and others. We heard that Iran wants to join.
I mean, what's not to like? I mean, it's a who's who of countries where slavery, human trafficking, and narcotics are the primary output. It's that's super, or that have 157% inflation.
This group. So there's a constituency, or a growing constituency of countries that are really fed up.
Yeah, they're fed up.
And they want...
Fuck America, that's what they're saying. And this guy agrees.
To change the terms of the debate, and they want to challenge the hegemony of the dollar and to shift global trade.
Hegemony, by the way, that bothers me.
To alternative currencies, and to create a parallel financial system which allows sanctioned country to...
like it's like crypto. It's great if you're trying to sell people or drugs.
Operate in an alternative ecosystem.
Or guns,
And I think that all of this is happening while the United States is at a point that its debt ability to raise this debt. The debt is already $30 trillion, and it's growing at a rate of $1 trillion a year.
Well, it slowed down to $1 trillion a year. It grew by $7 trillion. Just the Trump administration.
States will find that it's more and more difficult for it to raise this money and to finance its deficits while it is behaving the way it is behaving. So.
Not so much, no, actually, because quite frankly, all these countries that you've named, even the ones that are pissed at us, everybody in them is still putting their money in U.S. dollars because it's safe. They don't give a fuck. You're talking, look, if you're saying there's a moral imperialism coming from the United States that is being fought back against by the rebellious, immoral middle world or whatever the fuck he's making the argument for, what you got to recognize that those people, if they're the immoral or they don't believe anybody's morality should have any fucking thing to do with how they run their country, understand those people are going to put their money where it makes the most money. They don't give a fuck. If it's in drugs or in guns or in trafficking children, they'll do that. But if it's in U.S. treasuries, they will too. They don't care. And if they want their money to be safe, they put it in the West. That's the fucking... All right.
I think that the only way that I don't think that any change will happen on America's goodwill or initiative. I think if there is a change, it will only happen through backfire and resistance. And it will start with a challenge to the dollar. It will start with America realizing that it cannot slap countries right and left with one hand, and with the other hand, ask them to borrow money so it can finance its deficit.
Yeah, it doesn't ask. They put treasuries up. You can take them or leave them. They just happen to be a good investment. That's how that works. Even the people who are like, China has all of our debt. We owe all this money to China. China bought 8% of our treasuries. They have 8% of our debt. It's gone down actually in the last few years because they've had to sell a bunch of it because they don't have the dollars to make, to spread around and buy the other shit. All right. So anyways, let me quickly revisit. These assholes were selling this dude to you earlier. See this guy? See this Laura Ingraham, see Fox News? This is the guy we were just watching. A year ago, he was given a speech about de-dollarization, the rise of BRICS, fuck America, how dare we be the moral imperialists, and refuse to buy cotton that is picked by slave labor. As Americans, how fucking dare we? This has been a special report of Halsbarg's Megaworldwide, if I do say so my damn self. And I know I went a little long and it felt a little dry at times. I'm sorry about that. It means a lot to me that you guys understand that I want there to be a, hold on, I'm going to open something else. I want the ability to go a little bit deep reads now and again when we can, if I may. So this will be an ongoing thing, I have no doubt. This has been an episode I like to call Whistleblowback, GOP in the grip of China. Because understand ultimately what this means. This is my final word on the subject today, and I'll let you guys go. And tomorrow I'll see you on the radio, and Philip Ittner will be joining us, and Johnny Million will be joining us, and it'll be a great time, and all that stuff. And it'll be a little more broad in that. And I appreciate you guys giving me your ear and your interest if you really give a shit about any of this stuff. And I don't know that there's anywhere else that people will look into this dude who's, who they're pushing forward as their primary witness in this situation, okay? And for the record, if I may, let's see, let me move out of studio mode. We have a situation where this is the best the Republicans can do. That the guy that they are picking to be their spokesperson in this is a guy who wrote De-dollarization and argued for the rise of the BRICS currencies on behalf of the Chinese government when he worked for CEFC, and in the same day that he says Hunter Biden's compromised because he got money from CEFC, in the same fucking breath, he argues that CEFC is a charitable organization run out of Virginia. I shit you not. Man. But I'd like, I feel like in many ways, this is the be all end all addressing of that particular dude. You need go nowhere else. And anybody who brings this, I think CSL, we should just leave this show whole or whatever. Maybe we can go through in 3 breaks or put it in chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3 or something, because ultimately, people should be able to go, who's that guy? Oh, he's this guy. Because that's the breakdown. That's that whole fucking guy. That's it. That's the... Anybody who says he's for real and he's going to be the guy that brings down Biden and blah-de-de-blah-de-de-blah is a moron who is relying on a pro-China, anti-democracy BRICS cheerleader who worked for 4 years as the senior advisor to the company that everybody says that Hunter Biden is a criminal for even entertaining working with. Uyghur kid, yes, really Uyghur kidneys. And that's not how you spell it, but yeah. Thanks, CSL. Yeah, it'll just make it a little bit easier, but I hope. Because that's this fucking alleged whistleblower dude should hang around the neck of Comer and Jim Jordan and Fox News and all those assholes like a fucking albatross. And while I will be the first to admit, and I think many of you will join me in this, that America is by no means perfect, and the idea that any country could be perfect is kind of a mental illness in and of itself, but we sure as fuck don't do slavery anymore. We fought a war over it, and the right guys won. And so if the United States and its citizens decide that we're not going through that shit again, and we're not going to allow our dollars to contribute, even if it costs us more money, even if it drives prices up, the one area where we're not going to compromise is fucking slavery. Prison slavery needs in. That's not, there is no prison slavery, Hakira. You can work off your time, and anybody would train, anybody who wouldn't trade effort for time doesn't understand the value of time. There is none. Nope. There's no slavery in jails. It's nonsense. We've talked about this before. Not comparable, and it's insulting to people who are, to the people of like the Uyghurs or people who are being sold in Eritrea right now, or genuine slaves around the world. If you're in jail and you can shave a year and a half off of your sentence by working, that's not slavery. Nobody has to do it. Nobody. And I am, for the record, against slavery. Slavery in marriage, right. Yeah. No, 100 times, no. These whistleblowers are nothing burgers, end of story. And I just want, like, again, that, like, even softly talking about this whataboutism in terms of this, the amount of, like, privilege that goes into talking about it in those terms breaks my heart. Eritrea, oof. Yeah, exactly. Fucking hell, man. And again, go look at who's building Dubai. Forget about, even the abstracts or stories you may not even know about. Trapped Indian workers building buildings in Dubai who have to work off a debt to get their passport back if they ever leave. No. Not doing it. I'm not participating. And like, as shitty as America can be sometimes, it's shitty on its own terms. And one of them is no more slavery. Fuck that. End of story. And anybody going, how dare you? If we want to use slave laborers to... No. Well, technically speaking, I suppose... And what he meant by saying nothing really changes if you sanction people for that is that the Chinese aren't going to stop using Uyghur slave labor because Americans don't buy it. But that doesn't mean we have to contribute to it. Yes, I will never go back to Dubai. Not in its current state. I mean, if there's a big, if there's a Berlin Wall moment, we'll talk. Pakistanis die trying to work in the Gulf states. Exactly. That's what we're talking about. And it's okay having a hard line about that. And some dickhead calling it moral imperialism because we just don't want to pay for it. We're not even invading the fucking place. Go do yourself a favor and go look up the stories of when the British outlawed slavery, them fighting slave ships off the coast of Africa and all that kind of stuff. Then come back and tell me that some dude who, who's in jail for, felony assault shaves 2 years off by learning to become a fireman is the same. No. Fucking hell. So anyways, that's that. I just wanted to get that out of the way. This guy's been floated around for a long. We've heard about One Eye and all that shit. We heard that from Marjorie Taylor Greene. We heard about this witness on the run, and they were talking about it. And congratulations, you have been through the deep dive. We have handled it. And there's only one detail left that I think we all need to understand. It's...
We're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges.
Thank you guys so much.
Called religion, very important, religion.
I felt really good almost after taking it. I had a beat off.
You could say it's a back door, but I call it a smart door.
Somebody like that can write to it.
Dumps. They call them dumps. Big, massive dumps.
When they gaze upon Yosemite,
Thanks, Templeton.